Hi, my name's Kevin Mann. I'm a product manager at Kawasaki, and we're here at Palm Desert introducing our new Teryx KRX 1000. Okay, so we want to talk about some of the features that the new KRX 1000 has. But before I start, we'll just preface it by, a lot of our focus for this product was to capture the capability, the confidence, and the comfort. So we really focused on the 3 C's when we developed this vehicle. So as I'm going through and talking about some of the features, I'll point out some of the qualities that makes the operator feel when they're riding the machine. The fourth capability is actually durability, and Kawasaki builds the products very durable anyway, but we really put a lot of extra strength into this machine. So we like to say it has the comfort, the capability, the confidence, but also it's extremely tough vehicle. And I'll point those aspects out as well. So let's move to the front. We'll just start. So first of all, we have a 999cc engine. It's an all Kawasaki engine, a parallel twin. It's got a really well-balanced torque character. So from off the line, it has good torque at low end, but mostly at the higher RPM, also it's got an amazing balance of power and torque. So you'll feel that when you drive this. It's a very smooth acceleration. So in this machine, we also have a CVT with a centrifugal clutch. One of the things our customers asked for out there was they wanted a transmission that was very capable, it lasted long, which Kawasaki has a legendary durability in our CVTs. Our Teryx products that out there, even on our Mule Pro, we have very little troubles at all with our CVT systems. They're very over-designed. On this particular clutch, it's massive. But basically, the centrifugal clutch provides a really comfortable experience for the operator because they don't have to worry about shifting, and it's got very good durability and the smoothness of acceleration, something that Kawasaki's known for. It allows that precision engagement at low RPM and nice smooth acceleration coming out to speed. So that adds to the confidence of the vehicle. So the transmission's definitely a big plus for this, and we'll talk a lot more detail about that. We also have independent suspension on the front, A-arm independent with 19 inches of travel, and on the rear we have trailing arm 4-link suspension, and that's got 21 inches of travel. So the suspension capability in this machine puts us into a whole new sport category of vehicle. But let's start from the front in terms of some of the basic features. You can see the grill's very easy to pop out. That's to clean your radiator. So if you want to blow that, or you get back to the home and you want to wash it out, it's very easy to get at. Very large radiator in this machine. We've got a very nice LED light. Unfortunately, the battery's disconnected here, but these lights have an accent light in it that's always lit. It's got that little cat's eye view when you're driving, and then when you turn your lights on, you've got the LED low beam and high beam, and they're a very bright white light. So a very cool looking, very wide stance of the lights as well to give it that mean kind of sporty look. So when we looked at the styling for this vehicle, the 3 areas our designers considered were we wanted to capture a very capable looking machine. So the styling has elements of capable in it. We also wanted the look to be tough and to be sleek. So some of those qualities, when I talk about to look very capable, as you walk up to this machine, the first thing you see is you see massive shocks. They jump out at you. You see massive fender wells, lots of clearance, meaning you can kind of do a lot of things with this and get through. So that kind of capable look comes through by the design of the front and rear suspension. But the sleekness of it comes with the angulation. So you can see how all the angles kind of flow to the back. It's a nice angular front to the headlights, give that sleek look. Also to the sides, you can see how the sides they angle out like this as you go back. The shape of the ROPS, it's a little bit more smooth and a little bit lower looking. So as for an OEM, ROPS has a lot more attractive look to it. So that's the sleekness of it. And the toughness, again, the size of the components we use, say for the A-arms. We've got the massive Fox Podium 2.0 shocks with piggyback reserves on them. So the customers were asking for a machine that they didn't have to modify right away. They wanted to be capable you know, as they buy it. They don't want to have to come and put another $4,000 into the suspension to make it the vehicle they want. So we created like the high clearance A-arms. This machine has 14.4 inches of clearance, and you can see how it's shaped. We draw that clearance as much as we can right to the outer end, so we maximize the clearance underneath this. They want to be able to go over rocks. They want to have the confidence to be able to go over rocks and to be capable and not hung up. So that's why we came with the high arched A-arms. They're also a very strong A-arm. They're very thick. And you can see here the design. One of the nice things we did here is we dropped the upper A-arm down, and we have a steel forged boss here that actually connects to the ball joint, but also connects to the shock tower. And the reason we dropped this down is so we can get a little bit more spring travel on the shock. And that allows us more control of the suspension. The feedback we're hearing from the dealers is the suspension and the handling are unbelievable on this machine. And also the comfort, the amount it absorbs bumps. There's almost like a disbelief that you can get through this tough terrain. And when they go through it, they not only get through it with the confidence, but they feel the comfort and they're amazed by that. So that's one thing I highly encourage when you get back to a dealership is to get in this machine, take it for a ride, feel it for yourself. You know exactly what I'll be talking about. So as we come around the side here, one of the things I'll point out on the front suspension is we have standard stabilizers. So all machines come with the stabilizer, front stabilizer and rear stabilizer. I'll point that out as we go back. The wheels on this machine, they're all 31-inch Maxxis carnivore tires. They're 10 inches wide. All front and back tires are 10 inches wide, so if you want to switch front to back, you can. If you have a spare tire, it's going to work on the front, the back. Everything works together. That's one of the things our customers ask for. We also have the 15-inch wheel with the bead lock on it. That's standard equipment for Kawasaki on this Teryx. So that's an awesome thing to have as standard. And you can see some of the care to detail that we put in. We have a steel fender well to help keep items from penetrating into the operator zone. We also have underneath, that's also steel. The whole operator area of this machine is covered with steel plate. So that's a nice feature to have, knowing you can go out with the confidence on the trails and not have something come through the floorboard. We have removable fender flares on the machine. So these are the stock ones. We also have accessory ones that are a little wider that you can get more protection from mud, but it's nice to have these replaceable. If you get it all scuffed up, it's easy to kind of pull this off and put a new one on. The doors on this machine are phenomenal. It's a full half door, so it's you know, and it also has good coverage up at the top at the rear. So it's got that angular slope for the sleek styling, but it has a door latch on the outside. And if you come around the front here, we also have a nice door handle on the front too. So you don't have to look, it's just intuitive when you're getting in and out of the vehicle. You see the ledge on the door here, it's a nice armrest for your arms, so perfect position to kind of get and drive and be more confident when you're on the trail. You see in the floor space, I don't know if you noticed when I got on, but it's very easy for the operator to get into this machine. It's fairly low to climb in and get your feet in. You don't have to climb in and down into a tub. You're right on top. The seat position is more upright. I'm not laid back like this. I'm more in the upright position. And the reason for that is to maximize the visibility. You feel much more in control when you can kind of see things around you. Okay, so one of the things we learned when we were out researching customers is when we got into some rock crawling situations, two important elements of that. One is that when you get over the rock, you want to be able to not get hung up on it. So a lot of chassis have, you know, the corner of the fender comes straight down, but what we did is we actually boated the bottom of this. So we taper the bottom in. So now as that big rock's coming down here, it's got a lot more clearance to get through without getting hung up on the vehicle. Very important thing. But another really nice feature we added was with the seat position and the way the door is cut out. When you're in the rock crawling, you can see your visibility. So I can see everything. This whole window, to me, a viewing area is open, which is really what you want when you're getting around those big rocks. Okay, so actually, before I shut the door again, I'm just going to show you, we've got 6 inches of seat travel in this machine. So that's nice because we can handle short operators as well as the taller ones and provide maximum comfort. Lots of leg room down here, and there's also a foothold down here too to retain your foot. when you're driving through those technical terrain and you really need to be rooted in your seat, that foot alone will help you keeping your seat, as long with your seat belt as well. But it's nice to have as much things you can as to lock you in the seat, so you're maximizing the driving of your ride. So here we have a tilt steering. It's an infinitely variable tilt steering, so you can lock it in any position you want in increments. And we have a 23 function LCD display, very easy to see even in sunlight. But one of the nicest things about this display is it has a temperature meter for the CVT transmission. So it measures the air temperature in there, and when it gets to a point of concern, it will actually flash at you. And at that point, you either reduce the load or you should allow it to cool, and then you can go back going. But it's just a nice preventative feature if you're especially out riding by yourself, and you can have that indication of something may happen before it will happen. So if we look further into the interior here, we see we've got 5 cup holders. There's one on the passenger door, there's 2 here, and then there's 2 in between the seats towards the rear. We also have a switch here, and here's our 4-wheel drive. This switch is called a power mode. So if I'm running and I want to do some rock crawling, and I get into an area where there's a lot of technical terrain, and I want to be able to feather the throttle to get up and over a rock and articulate around another rock, and I don't want to slip, I want to be in control of my acceleration, I hit this low button, and that puts it into a 57% of full power mode. And that makes the throttle much more easy to modulate and feather around, so you can just basically inch the machine very, very easily and confidently over the rock to get to your next terrain. I push it back into 100% mode, and I can get on with my trail. So here's our 4-wheel drive switch. That's 2-wheel drive. This is 4-wheel drive and 4-wheel drive with diff lock, similar to our current Teryx. But the KRX has some added advantage. When I'm driving on the fly and I'm in 2-wheel drive and I'm heading down the road at higher speed and I see a mud pit up ahead of me, I can put it into 4-wheel drive or 4-wheel drive diff lock. And as long as all of the wheels are in sync, that 4-wheel drive and diff lock will engage before you hit the mud pile, and you can fly through it without having a concern of being stuck. So it's an auto feature that will put it in as long as the speeds of the front and rear axle are in sync, as well as the left and right wheel on your front axle. So a very nice feature we added at the request of customers. On the storage side, we have a very nice pocket up top here. You can see there's also a large center console area where you can mount tablets in here. So you can bring your own tablet and put it in, or you can mount your phones and devices in here. So that's a nice little feature. Over here we have a glove box, and in the glove box there's also a grab bar for the passenger, and it's multi-position adjustable, so you can basically put it where you want. The passenger seat is also adjustable, and we have a 12-volt socket in here to power your electronic devices. And also the whole dash actually comes out. There's like some pin rivets that come out, and you can pull this whole dash out, and if you're installing electrical accessories, there's a terminal there you can connect to add your accessories, and there's some switch blanks in the dash. One of the other nice things, maybe not so much in Southern California, but a lot in the northern snow belt regions, is we have a heater for this that's developed by Kawasaki, and the heater mounts inside underneath this, so you don't see any boxes, and all the ducting is already pre-arranged. So there's a vent there, there's a vent there for the windshield defrost. There's also areas here where vents go, and areas down here where vents go to maximize the flow of hot air so the operator will maintain maximum comfort. We also have speaker pod holes built into the door. You can see over here on the passenger door when you add the OEM radio stereo system. So I'm just gonna, I didn't mention, but in the transmission here you can see we've got it's a little bit of a gated, but it's inline gated, and it's very easy to shuttle from reverse to high. So that's a very common thing. A customer, you're typically going to run your vehicle in high range, and when you run into an encounter where you want to back up and turn the vehicle around, very easy to shuttle back and forth. So it's a nice little feature. We also have an independent park brake. So you don't have to take it out of gear to put it in park. That's a nice thing. You can actually, if you're on a hill or on a slope and you need to put it in park, it's very easy to engage, but more importantly, unlike the transmission type park brakes, this park is very easy to disengage if there's a torque windup on the wheel. Okay, so nice feature there. I'm going to move the seat forward and show you where the air filter is. So here we have an anti-cinch 3-point seat belt harness. We also have an accessory that is a 6-point harness. And then over here is the air filter. So we pull off this cover and we can pull off that cover, and there's our radial air filter. Very nice. It's a Donaldson filter. Okay, so this box here, there's just 4 little wing nut screws here, and underneath this cover is the main fuse as well as the independent fuses for the electrical circuits. Also, if I just slide this seat back, I can pop off the seat base, and here's our battery right here. It's mounted nice and low to keep the center of gravity as low as we can, and there's a nice little rubber cover covering the battery. Okay, so that basically covers a lot of the internal parts, but one thing I want to point out while I have you here, these seats are in the rearmost position. So we have massive cargo space on this vehicle, but also there's a lot of rear behind the seat space that can be utilized. A lot of the people we talk to that may be a little shorter, maybe say it's hard to climb up on the back to get at the cooler. So if that's an issue for some customers, maybe a nice little thing to have a cooler or something in the back behind the seat where they don't have to climb up on the cargo bed to get access to. All right, so that's the inside. Let's, as we make our way back, I want to point out the ROPS cage on this. So some of the nice features about the ROPS cage is we made this cage in mind that customers wanted to have the ROPS protection, but to make it look a little better. So we hope we accomplish that with a little bit more sleek look. We also tried to smooth out the bends on this. So you can see how they use large radius bends. And the advantage of large radius bends is you have less stress concentration in those kind of joints. So it's ideal for a ROPS design. So you can see it's a large radius. Right here is what's called a steel forged boss. And instead of like a welded assembly in this area, we actually went to extra cost and made a steel forged boss to add added strength, more rigidity in this portion. It's a very critical portion in a ROPS, so that's a very strong steel piece. And another thing I'll point out is we've added this ROPS tube in here that goes down right in line with the shock. So a lot of the energy that comes up from the chassis gets pushed up into this area of the ROPS. So we have a lot of structure in this area of the vehicle, and that adds to the rigidity of the chassis. So when we make the chassis nice and rigid like that, it really allows us to tune the suspension so the vehicle can perform at exceptional levels. So, and we'll talk a little bit about that in a bit, but I just wanted to point out how we make it rigid. On the right side, we have air intake for the engine. As that goes down into the air filter here, we also have a burp tube under here. It's just a little tube that you squeeze if water gets in there. Not too much of a problem for us in Southern California, of course. And on the other side, there's a very similar ducting, and that's the CVT air inlet. So that brings in all the air for the cooling of the CVT belt. So as we make our way down here, we can see we have the trailing arms. Remember, I talked about 14.4 inches of ground clearance. So that's really amazing. But what we also try to do is to make that ground clearance as most usable as possible. So we try to extend the clearance for as much as we can. You can see how far these A-arms or these trailing arms come back before they start dropping down. That's to give maximum clearance under there, underneath the vehicle. This has got the rear stabilizer as well. Maybe a little difficult to see, but the stabilizer's right here. And then also our shock back here, this is again a Fox Podium 2.5 with piggyback reservoirs. Both the front and rear shocks have 24-point compression adjustment. So up here we have the compression adjusting valve. It's also dual rate springs with the collar in the center here, so you can adjust your preload here and your balance here between the two springs. Here's our CVT belt. It's very massive looking. One of the nice things is the accessibility of this belt. You can see there's no hoses and tubes. We've run the hoses out over the top and to the side of it. It's not obstructing our getting the cover off. It's just remove the bolts and that cover can come off, fairly easy to get at. Again, CVT with centrifugal clutch. So the really big advantage of the CVT on this machine is its ability for engine braking. You're always engaged with your engine as you go over that steep hill and start descending. This engine has really good engine braking, which takes a lot of stress off your normal brakes, but it gives you that added control and confidence when you're in that type of a hill condition. So, okay, so again, our trailing arm and rear suspension has got some unique feature here, which is the four link suspension. So we've got the trailing arm and we've got a front link here we've added, as well as the two rear links. The purpose of this front link is to actually control the toe in of this rear wheel. So when you get riding this machine down some gnarly whoops, you'll find that the handling characteristic of this is going to hold that straight line a lot better, because we're actually holding that toe in where we want it as the wheel's going up and down. So that's a really nice feature with our particular suspension. And another thing we talk about is, like I said earlier, the customers want the machine to be very durable, but to also have, they don't want to have to modify it to make it what they wanted. So what we did is we made it very beefy, and by that I mean this arm here, lower link arm, is 35 millimeter in diameter. And if I looked at a comparable, say a Razor XP 1000, this arm is only 19 millimeters in diameter. So it's much larger on this as a stock offering. So the customer doesn't really have to take the arms off and upgrade them. They're already at that level already. Okay, so as we're at the back of the machine, again, we've got LED lights at the front as well as LED tail lights. We also have a very large cargo bed carrier. This carrier is designed to fit up to a 32-inch tire, so it's made a little bigger. We know that some customers like to upgrade the tire size, so we kind of accounted for that in this bed. And it's also got a recessed groove in it, you can see. So if you're carrying your cooler in here, it can take up to a Yeti 60. That large cooler can sit in this tray and it actually won't bounce around. So it's nice to be able to nest it. We've got 4 D-rings in this. And this bed floor actually comes off. If you want to get access to the engine, it's just these 4 D-ring bolts. There's 2 bolts in the center, and then there's some pop rivets around the side, and that whole bed floor can be lifted out of there. Okay, so if we make our way around to the right side of the vehicle, here you see our exhaust system here. We also have the CVT air inlet here, so that's where we're. And the reason we put these air inlets up high like this is, and to the back, is a lot of the air that's coming around here, the dirty part of the air is coming around this area. So this is actually a stagnation area that doesn't have a lot of dust in it. And the purpose of this screen here is to knock that dust off, but essentially this is the cleanest part we could find of the vehicle to take the air into both of those items. And if you're doing maintenance on your vehicle, you want to check your oil. One of the nice things here is we have we don't have to take off the oil cap and measure the dipstick. We can actually see the sight tube, through the sight tube, the oil level. So the nice thing about that is it keeps the engine sealed. You don't have to worry about dust contamination into your oil. There's your oil fill there and your oil filter there. So very accessible, everything right easy from one side, easy to do an oil change on this unit. And when we're talking about the handling of this unit, it has amazing handling in terms of straight line stability, as well as when you're cornering. It actually follows the turn, the line you have the unit turn on, it follows that very well. And part of the reasons for that are, of course, it's independent suspension, but the footprint on this unit, we have a 99-inch wheelbase on this. So it's a very long wheelbase, and it's also very wide. This unit's 68 inches wide, so it's got a very wide tread footprint. And actually the tires extend out past the rear and ahead of the front of the vehicle to allow you to approach things. It's 90-degree approach angle on the front and the back. So allows you good ability to do that kind of off-roading, four-wheeling. If you're climbing up on ledges and stuff, you can have that vehicle do that. But in terms of the handling, basically the stability, in turns with the suspension. We've got the stabilizers on the front, stabilizers on the rear, 19 inches front travel, 21 inches rear travel, very rigid chassis. All that put together amounts to amazing comfort and amazing handling. So you really have to get in it to feel that, I understand. So I encourage you to go to your dealership and feel that out. But this vehicle, it really excels in terms of the comfort you'll feel in that seat, its ability to absorb those bumps and not shake it through the operator, and also its ability to handle and follow the lines you're driving. One of the things I didn't point out about the steering while we're over here, this is a fully EPS system, and one of the nice things about it is usually you're going to ride in two-wheel a lot of the time, two-wheel drive, and if you're in two-wheel drive, steering's very easy, but a lot of vehicles you go in and switch it into four-wheel drive, then the steering becomes a lot harder because now your front axle is being driven. So what we did with this is we made the EPS effort a lot easier. We make the assistance kick in when you turn it to four-wheel drive, and the steering effort becomes similar to what it is in the two-wheel drive. So nice little feature we added just to enhance the comfort ride of this vehicle. So that concludes the product walk around. We will talk a little bit about accessories. So let's move over to the lime green Kawasaki KRX 1000 unit. So one of the nice things about working at Kawasaki is we had an opportunity early on in the development of this product to engage with the accessory team, with the development team back in Japan. So one of the first vehicles to have a lot of integration between the accessory and the vehicle, the KRX, is really one of the first products that we really are successful at achieving that. So I'm going to point out what we have for accessories, but I just want to call out that, you know, in terms of the integration, we had a lot of cooperation from KHI to add the needed things to make installation easy, to make the fit and finish be good. But most importantly, with this vehicle is the styling. So we wanted the accessories to look cool, to look OEM, and so we'll run through some accessories and just show you a little bit of what I'm talking about. So to start off with, we have the front bumper. So this bumper is actually a two-part bumper. You can purchase just this portion of the bumper, which is the lower bumper, and as an add-on you can buy the brush guard, and there's just basically bolts in here. They're nicely hidden. It still retains nice styling to cover the lights. And one of the nice things about doing it as an OEM is we actually made the light, so the viewing area of the light is still not obstructing the light, so that the front brush guard does not obstruct the light view. It allows that LED cool factor to pop through, but also the nice viewing spectrum of the light is not impeded by the brush guard. We also have LED lights on this. I'll just point out we have an 8-inch front bumper light. We also have a 38-inch roof light, and we have in the back we have mounted two 8-inch LED lights. It's actually the same light, just a different harness kit. So all of these lights have basically an off position. They have an accent light which glows, of course, Kawasaki green, but we have these are Kawasaki marked inside the light bar, so when you are on accent, those accent and show you that it's a Kawasaki light. Very cool little factor. We have two winches available for this. We have the Warren VRX 45 and the 45S winch. They're 4,500 pounds winch, either in cable or in synthetic rope. This has got a nice little tow hook. So you got a front tow hook and a rear tow hook. They're both the same part, just two bolts and that hook's on. We also have HMW front A-arm guards. We have HMW trailing A-arm guards and a full HMW skid plate, which we don't have the skid plate installed in this, but we will show you the rear trailing arm guards. As we make our way to the top, I'll just point out we have this is our polycarbonate hard-coated fold-down windshield. So you just pull these rubber straps off, and this windshield closes right up. I'll go to the other side. You can see how the molding of the polycarbonate is wrapping around the ROPS, provide a little bit more seal, a little bit of, you know, from the air and the elements coming in. We have three windshields available, so this is the fold-down poly windshield. We also have a poly fixed windshield, which easily clamps on, so it's easy on, easy off. And we have a glass windshield as well. So 3 nice windshields available for this unit. Okay, so we got, in terms of roofs, on this roof we have actually a screen silk a polycarbonate roof. It's got a sunroof in the center, so it's a silk screen center and silk screen green. This roof comes also in black, so if you have any other CNG package of the vehicle, the black may be a better fit, but both roofs are available in the polycarbonate material. It's a very durable material. We also have a thermoform plastic roof for this. It's very styled to the vehicle, just like this polycarbonate one is, and it's a little less expensive. So as we make our way inside the unit, before we make our way inside, let's talk about the mud flaps. So these are some fender extensions. This is full coverage. It brings the fender a lot wider, so it's not so much for rock crawling, but if you're in a lot of muddy situations, it's definitely going to keep the mud out of the operator area. We also have mud flaps that can mount to here. That's an additional accessory. This will allow without the flaps, the mud will follow this pattern and can get on the door handle, and some customers don't like that. So if you want additional mud protection, you can actually add those flaps. On this unit, we have what's called tree kickers. These are really popular in wooded trail areas or rocky areas. You're doing a lot of speed riding down narrow roads. Kind of keeps the vehicle off from getting into that. But we also have a Hmw Rock Slider. So it's more of just a flat material that bolts into this contoured boat side, the tapered side I mentioned earlier. And that's really just to allow you, if you're doing rock crawling and want added protection of the side of the vehicle, the Hmw is a great material. Allows you to slide, it doesn't bend, it absorbs some of the impact, so it's very good on the vehicle, but also excellent protection. Now the nice thing about what Kawasaki's done is we've made so you could actually add the extra Hmw plate in addition to the rock slider, so both are tree kicker. So both can be used at the same time, or each can be used separately. And to mount these, they're easy to put on. There's just some knockouts here, just a hole saw, knock them out. There's already mounting points behind on the frame, so we have those already identified. You just thread in the bolt and bolt these units up. So that's the front fender extension. Back here's the back one. Not as big, but certainly it gives a little bit more protection from keeping the mud down. If we make our way inside the unit, so we have a nice mirror on this. It's a parabolic, very long angle mirror. One of the nice features is it's got a built-in dome light to it. But even cooler than that, we've got a dome light that comes off. So if you lose something and you need to walk around, you can see what you're trying to find, and this will just pop back into the unit. So a very cool feature. We also have a larger rear view mirror. It's not installed on this, but for those customers that want to save a bit of money and just want a rear viewing area. This unit's equipped with our stereo, so we have a hyphonic stereo system. It's a 600-watt system in this. Unfortunately, our batteries are disconnected on this vehicle, but it really kicks in terms of sound. It's got 75 watts per channel, so we've got a door speaker on the left and one on the right. We've got additional speakers which aren't included in that price. And that's these rear pod speakers here mounted inside the ROP. So even if I install a rear panel on this machine, these speakers will be inside that. It allows a really good balance of sound in the operator and in the operator area. We also have a subwoofer back here. It's got a 12-inch 300-watt subwoofer. So all these speakers together with the subwoofer, this system really provides lots of power. The head unit is Bluetooth, AM, FM. So it's got lots of sources of music. So we have an optional 6-point seat belt harness for this machine. It's quick release, very nice with retractable shoulder strap. And basically that'll mount, there's a bar that bolts in. You can see there's a knockout here on the back plastic of the seat. And there's a mounting point behind there where an L bar will mount in and connect to the ROP space. And then there's also an added bracket that goes on the back of the seat to hold the shoulder strap loops, and then the seat belt installs. So it's very very nice to put in. It still works with the vehicle nicely in terms of if the seat belt's buckled, we have a ROVA speed requirement to maintain a certain speed and not go above that. So it ties into the factory seat belt systems, safety systems of the vehicle to enable that functionality. As we come to the back, you see we have the trailing arm Hmw guards. Again, if you want to keep added protection to those guards and make them last a lot longer without getting banged up, it's a really good investment for that. We also have the full body length Hmw skid plate. So pretty much 80% of the undercarriage of this has a steel plate for protection, but for those people really getting into the rocky terrain that don't want to bang their machine up, that Hmw skid plate is a great investment. So as we mentioned up front, the rear bumper comes in two parts as well. We have a lower portion of the bumper, which is basically these tubes here, downwards. So that's the lower portion. If you want to add the light protection to that, there's an upper grill guard kind of bumper, and that ties right into the ROPS rear tube. So it's kind of nice, gives that surround rear end type of protection. And it bolts in fairly easy too. There's already hole knockouts in here, and there's just a clamp that goes around the ROPS tube. We also have the tow hook that I mentioned on the front. That's it on the back, same part, can be used in either or. We have, on this unit, we have a rear tire rack. So this is a spare tire or cargo rack. Can be used a few different ways. If I put my spare tire in here, there's actually a 3-point strap that will secure the spare tire to this rack, and it's very easy. You just pop that latch. It's spring assist, so if you have your Yeti 60-quart cooler in here, very easy to get access to get in and out of your cooler, and then you can simply just pull down your spare tire rack and you're good to go again. We also have an accessory for that. It's a tray that mounts on top of the rack, so if you don't want to use it for a spare tire, you can put items up here, make it a little bit more functional for additional storage. I mentioned when we were in the operator area that the rear, we have a 12-inch speaker with a 300-watt subwoofer. So this box is the subwoofer. Consumes a little bit of real estate in the cargo bed, but still allows you to put a sufficiently large size cooler in here with your 300-watt subwoofer. We have two tailgate options for this vehicle. This is the deluxe tailgate option. It's got lockable back door, and if you want, you can actually have some storage in here to put ropes, or if you've got some additional jackets and stuff you want easy access to, this is a great little storage place that'll keep some of the dust out of it. The other tailgate option is just a narrower tailgate, so it's not going to be this wide. It's going to be a little bit narrower, won't consume as much of the cargo space, but certainly allow you to keep more of the items inside and also retain that nice styling finished back end look of the KRX. Okay, so as we mentioned in the front, we have a front 8-inch LED light. We use that same light on the rear, so we have a left and a right LED rear. Again, the functionality is the same. It's got off, it's got an accent position, which is Kawasaki green, and then the LED bright white. So very nice little feature. It got that cool factor with all LED green lights if you want to run it in accent mode, something that we haven't really done in the past, so it's kind of cool. And that basically covers our accessories. So I want to thank you so much for your time. Please get to your dealer, ride this machine, test it out. It's got some great accessories. It's a great riding machine. You're going to love it. Happy riding.